Alt text in action. How to use alt text on microsite images. When we think about images and making them accessible to all, we often focus on captions or transcripts. But there's another powerful tool that ensures everyone can fully experience our content. Alt text. Alt text, or alternative text, is a short written description that explains what's happening in an image or visual. When we think about alt text, we often think it is only for people using screen readers, but alt text brings visuals to life in words. It's not just about accessibility. Alt text can also improve searchability and helps your content reach a wider audience. When used correctly, it turns visuals into words and words into connection. Let's take a look at why alt text matters and how we can use it effectively in our images and further make our microsites a tool for all, unlocking its power to make our communication more inclusive, more discoverable, and more impactful. So with that, let's get started. As we just discussed, the purpose of alt text is essentially to make microsites accessible and informative for all users. We use it for accessibility for screen readers, search engine optimization, SEO, image display backup, and let's not forget compliance with laws and guidelines. Accessibility for screen sharing. Alt text helps people who are blind or visually impaired understand what an image shows. Screen readers read the alt text aloud, allowing users to have the same information as a sighted user. Search engine optimization, SEO. That's my favorite. Search engines cannot find or see images, but they can read alt text. Descriptive alt text helps search engines understand your content, which can improve your page's visibility in search results. So, we want SEO-friendly words and phrases that inform current members while also attracting potential new members. Image display backup. If an image doesn't load due to a slow connection or an error, the alt text appears in its place, providing users with an understanding about what was intended to be there. Compliance with laws and guidelines. Alt text on microsites must comply with accessibility standards, such as the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines and legal requirements, including the Americans with Disabilities Act, the ADA. For those of you not familiar with the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, that stands for the standard for making web content accessible to all users, including people with disabilities. So writing good alt text, there's a couple of things to consider. You want to describe the image briefly and clearly. Say what's in the image and its purpose on the page. You want your user to be able to close their eyes and in looking at that text to be able to visualize what was intended. So an example of 4 men in a banner, close your eyes, and 4 men in a banner, we all will have a completely different idea, and it could go from one end of the spectrum to the other. I elected to use NARFE banner with 4 men, Virginia 11th Congressional District Representative, NARFE National President, Senior Vice President Policy and Programs, and Virginia Caucus President. You will see that I deliberately left names out. That is a privacy issue, but it is one that you as webmaster and the organization that you represent, you will decide at what point you will use privacy, and if you use names, that will be an internal decision. But I do believe that a couple of things were accomplished here. We know that it's NARFE, and we know that it's some very influential men that have a great deal to do with NARFE and leadership in that organization. Writing good alt text too. Use keywords naturally. This will help SEO. If it's relevant, include a keyword, but don't overdo it. Search engines can get confused or even penalize content when keywords are overused. This is often called keyword stuffing. It happens when you repeat the same words or phrases too much in an attempt to boost rankings. If I were to describe an image and I put NARFE conference and it's the NARFE event and the NARFE members were there and it was in the NARFE Region 10 group, again, that NARFE overused could penalize you. I decided to use an example of NARFE members networking at the Regional 10 Biennial Conference in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, September 2025. What I did, I used NARFE as my main keyword. However, I used other words in that alt text to further give search engines other ways to search and bring up information. Focus on what's important. If the image doesn't convey information, list it as decorative. If it's relevant, include a keyword, but do not include a keyword just for SEO. That is called stuffing. Images that don't convey essential content or information purely for design, layout, or aesthetics, like swooshes, dividers, background patterns. Screen readers should ignore these images so users aren't distracted or confused. So I've given you an example of a swoosh, ornamental icons or dividers, the stars that you might see across there. The important thing to remember here is to use the alt equal in its open quote, close quote. It tells the screen reader to skip over the image and keep going. So if it's something like the swish, make sure that you use the alt, the decorative one, the alt equal open quote, close quote, so that the screen reader will keep on moving along. Convey the image's purpose. If it's a button or a link, describe the action. In this example, register for the 2025 conference. You will see that register is bolded. It has changed colors. In Microsites, we describe the action by using bold text. Then we link to the item or the page, and then the software will change the color of the bolded text. So in this example, register would tell me that it is a link, and when I click on it, it's going to go to some other information. With visuals below the magnifying glass, I may not use any additional text for that. That's a decision that I would make because magnifying glass usually says search. But in the next one, I have a piece of paper with a pencil. I have decided to use some text, download report, so that people would know to download that report. So if the image is needed to understand the action or information, it needs descriptive text. If it's purely decorative or redundant with text, use the alt equal open quote, close quote. Another misuse of alt text. Don't say image of or picture of. Screen readers already announce that it's an image. This would be a duplicate word. So if I was saying image of a group of people at a meeting, the screen reader is going to say image, and then I'm going to say image of a group of people at a meeting. It's just a duplication. Instead, use NARFE members networking at the annual meeting, because the screen reader is going to say image of NARFE members networking at the annual meeting. Don't stuff keywords or write the same as the caption. Be creative. Don't repeat content already in the text unless the images add more info. And above all, Don't leave alt text blank. So our recommendation to all is to use alt text as a tool. If you'd like more information at NARFE.org with the CAB, there is a contact form for the Microsites Working Group. You can complete the form and one of us would get back to you. It's NARFE.org/CAB/contact Microsite Working Group, MWG.